belief is that this will definitely inspire us, engage us for a more sustained and a meaningful engagement in the future days to come. It's my honor to extend a warm welcome to our respected Secretary Sir, DPIIT, Rajesh Kumar Singh Sir. Sirs, we have been immensely benefited by Sir's inspiring leadership and invaluable guidance in shaping up these particular schemes as well as these events. Warm welcome to you, sir. Respected Anil Agarwal sir, member CCI and a member of the ONDC Council is amidst us. Sir has played a very pivotal role in conceptualizing and scaling these events. Warm welcome to you, sir. Respected Sanjeev sir, sir being the JS in charge of ONDC and the startup, I can only summarize saying that this is the collaboration that is personified. So I welcome Sanjeev sir to this event. My warm welcome to Sri T. Koshi, MD and CEO ONDC, to this particular event. I take this privilege to extend a warm welcome to JS Srinivas sir, Sri Chakravarti Kannan, Secretary General QCI, Sri Sudhata Mandal, DMT, SIDB, Madam Anjali Bensal, and my dear colleague, Dr. Sumit Jarangal, to this particular event. Let me take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to all the participants, the founders, the leaders from the startup ecosystem, all the distinguished panelists, all the dear colleagues from DPIIT, and all the team members from Startup India and ONDC team today. Together, let us explore and embark on this digital journey. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for the welcome address and for setting the context of today's event. Next, I would like to invite on stage Sri Sumit K. Jarangal, Director, Startup India, to talk about the synergies between Startup India and ONDC.
Good morning, everyone. It's a proud privilege for me that I have been given this opportunity, and I would like to thank Secretary Sir for being an amazing leader, and it's only because of his vision and guidance that such events are possible. I also like to take an opportunity to thank Anil Agarwal Sir, whom I'm meeting for first time in person. But sir, everyone has been talking so highly about you, be it Startup India or be it ONDC. And also my current boss, the Joint Secretary, it's his energy and his direction that has led to this engagement, possible. And most importantly, I would like to thank each and every one of you, because you are the ones who have taken out time, and your efforts are only going to make the vision of India being a developed country, hopefully by 2047. And once we become a developed country, that time, these events of ONDC and Startup India, which were a transformative schemes of Government of India, how they worked together, how they collaborated, and how this spirit of collaboration among different divisions, different parts of government ultimately lead to this synergy and ultimately a positive result. So if we go back from where this ONDC started, what I have been told is that it was the COVID and the biggest challenge that the humanity faced. And we found out that the challenges that are there, that many a times these challenges are, they also tell us that where we are lacking, and it is the lack of democratization of e-commercial space, which led to the idea of ONDC, and the brightest mind in the country have come together and led to this protocol, which will ultimately led to so many business coming on it. And I would say that it is a startup made by the brilliant mind of the country for all the startups to, whoever are wanting to work on this platform. And ultimately, the aim of any economic activity is to make the life of citizen better, and also to give an opportunity to any citizen who has an idea, so that he can express that idea, he can, convert it into a business activity which is profitable and ultimately contribute to the well-being of the country and make India a developed nation. So thanks a lot. We are looking forward to hear from all of you. There are so many exciting panels and I really believe that it would go a long way in achieving the objective of mutual learning, mutual collaboration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the motivating address. I would like to invite Shri T. Koshi, Managing Director, ONDC, to the stage to share his insightful thoughts. Just with a round of applause, please.
Dignitaries on and off the dais, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a great pleasure and matter of excitement that we could all come together to discuss ways to collaborate and complement each other in this big transformation that of digital India that we are witnessing. I'm not going to go a lengthy discourse on the possibilities, because at the end of the session we will have a detailed session by my colleague explaining the ONDC, and how one can benefit from it in a detailed fashion. But I'll take this opportunity only to highlight a couple of things. One is, as you know, this is something that has started only very, very recently. It is in the September end of last year that we said we can even open it up to some public in a very limited fashion in Bangalore, and to make it possible for some of the buyers in some pin codes to try. And it was in January that we started publicizing that we felt some confidence. So if you look at in January, we had total about 1,000 transactions with about 600 merchants doing. And in March of this year, it has launched to 7.6 million with about 500,000 merchants and 1,200 plus cities transactions happening. I mean, merchants are there. And about 65% of the transactions do happen from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. So, compared to the possibilities, these numbers are really, really small. But what is there, it shows from 1,000 to 7.6 million in 15 months' time. And we have definite confidence that it is going to go in the 5 to 6 times growth in this coming year. Why do I feel very confident? Because we are seeing significant amount of traction. All kinds of sellers, whether it is farmer producer organization on small artisans on one side, or to large companies like Unilever and ITC, etc., realize they want to be a part of this network through this open network, through this open protocol that is being made available, which makes everybody interoperable. And there are multiple enterprises which digital customers, like Ola on one side, Dainik Jagran on the other side, Paytm on the other side, PhonePe, they're all, what do they all have in common? They all have digital consumers. So why are they all here in ONDC? They say that now my digital consumers are very, very limited segment. Ola says I have only in mobility. But how do I offer more business to my customers, more options to customers, whether it is grocery or whether it's food? ONDC is the answer. So this kind of revelation is coming. So it means that there is nothing holding on this build-up. This is something, a momentum has just started and there's nothing to stop. Because both on the supply side and on the demand side, more and more organizations are coming. So what is so special that I would like to highlight something for the startup here? I would like to bring two important points. An open network gives possibilities of innovation and specialization. Innovation not just within the e-commerce system for any way, because open network offers possibility for market expansion. If I just give and in a very innovative fashion, I'd like to just highlight one of the innovation by one of the ministries, Agriculture Ministry. They took initiative to get all the farmer producer, or many of the farmer producer organizations to come online. I mean, that is the easiest thing to do. It's only technology. That's not what is so innovative about them. And they said that we will teach the farmers how to do the demand generation. And they created what you call a very unique thing. Even I didn't think that is a good idea to begin with. They created a clickable PDF with a deep link, which means that you made a brochure, you like the product, click on it, and you can straight away make a buy. It's just an idea, just started fine-tuning. But the point that is there, this opens up humongous possibilities of innovation. The other day, Dainik Jagran said that we have a lot of people coming for content. I want to marry content and commerce, which wouldn't have been possible at all. So now for every startup, one of the first questions that come, how do I generate demand? In a current very limited platform-centric model, small guys do not have much opportunity to really make it big and at a very competitive price. That's a reality. Whereas here, the demand generation is in his hand. So that is why whether it is an FPO or whether it is an artisan, whether it is some startup organization, they can have a humongous possibility to expand their market, to begin with in India and to explode to other parts of the world. That's one possibility. That's why we are really excited, and when Sanjeev suggested that we should have a combination seminar with startups and ONDC coming together, it really it rang a bell that we need to enable that. Second thing that is also keep in mind that this also gives new startup opportunities. Because today, if you look at, there is a lot of innovation in e-commerce, but that's left to the few large platforms, because e-commerce is done by few large platforms. When you unbundle and make them interoperable, it gives humongous possibilities of new ideas for startup. Even as simple, something like, create, when a large number of small and micro enterprises want to be in the e-commerce world, they need good digital catalogs. Today, what's the penetration in the seller side? 2%. And the buyer side, 6%. And if you are and all these people, when they come, they want to make attractive catalog. Can you create a very smart catalog making system? Then it becomes a humongous possibility for business to make millions of SMEs to come on board. It could be that, even in the very limited area, we have a shortage of logistics possibility. It is not just a question of large logistics company. You would even see in any hyper-local logistics possibilities coming up. So for every building block, whether it is buyer interface, seller interface, whether it is for payment, whether it is catalog creation, whether it is packaging, whether it is for advertisement, demand generation, all of this need different kind of approach for the different segment of a business, which is not present in the brand. So that's why startups have two opportunities. One is, if you are making any product, yes. In fact, I just met one of the person here came and said this bottle, smart bottle, he put the ONDC name there and said, it's the first time in India. I said, make it available immediately. He spoke to Shiprocket and said, I'm going to start it coming week. I hope it starts. So this is a possibility, possibilities of collaboration and new business opportunities. These are the 2 points I want to highlight. I will leave it to have the fantastic discussion from the variety of experts who are coming here to throw open multiple ideas and multiple possibilities. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your knowledge with us. I would like to invite Shri Sanjeev, Joint Secretary, DPIIT, to say a few words, please.
धन्यवाद. Respected Secretary Sir, Anil Agrawal Sir, Kosi Sahab, Kannan Sir, Anjali Ma'am, Mandal Sahab, Rikant Pitti Sahab, Soumya, Pawan, and यहाँ उपस्थित सारे मित्र जो ONDC और स्टार्टअप का प्रतिनिधित्व करते हैं और हमारे कलीग जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी जो यहाँ उपस्थित हैं. आज सवेरे सबसे बड़ी जो मुझे दुविधा थी यहाँ आने में कि मैं क्या पहन के आऊँ. मेरे पास ONDC का भी टी शर्ट है और स्टार्टअप का भी टी शर्ट है एंड ONDC का टी शर्ट बहुत अच्छा है. बट मुझे यही लगा कि स्टार्टअप को शायद हमारी ज़रूरत ज़्यादा है. आज हम अपने स्टार्टअप को यहाँ लेके आए हैं कि उनको ONDC पे ऑन बोर्ड कराएं, इसलिए मैं यही पहन के आया. और सिनर्जी की बात यह है कि मैंने अपने स्टार्टअप इंडिया टीम को कहा कि अगली बार हम लोग प्रोक्योरमेंट वहीं से करेंगे जहाँ से ONDC करता है. त्रिशूर से बहुत अच्छा कोसी साहब ने करवाया है, बहुत ही अच्छा टी शर्ट्स और वो हैं एंड वेरी चीप ऑल्सो एंड इंडियन प्रोडक्ट ऑल्सो. सो यही है, अब हम सभी लोगों को मिलके एक साथ मिलके अपने स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम को बढ़ाना है. और यहाँ मंचासीन जो लोग भी हैं, एक तरह से आप कह सकते हैं कि फाउंडर या ONDC के जनक रहे हैं. अनिल अग्रवाल सर, अंजलि बंसल मैडम सिडबी, QCI, सभी लोग शुरू से, जैसा सुमित ने बताया था, शुरू से ONDC में इन्वॉल्व रहे हैं। और मुझे ये कहने में आज कोई शक नहीं है कि इंडिया का सरकारी वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट स्टार्टअप हमारा ONDC खुद है। और हम लोग जो स्टार्टअप के साथ जो एक इनोवेशन और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की फीलिंग होती है, उसी के साथ हम लोग ONDC में काम कर रहे हैं। और आज ये जो महोत्सव करने का विचार आया, वो स्टार्टअप फाउंडर्स रिकांत जी से, जो ईज माई ट्रिप के हैं, पावन और सौम्या जो विंजो से हैं, ये हमें से मिलने आए थे। तो मुझे बड़ा जान के ये खुशी हुई कि ये भारतीय स्टार्टअप विदेशों में भी काम कर रहे हैं एंड मिलियंस ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शंस हैं। और अगर ये ONDC पे आते हैं तो इससे हमारे स्टार्टअप की सेलिंग पावर में बढ़ोतरी आएगी। जो सबसे बड़ा स्टार्टअप के पास चैलेंज होता है कि कैसे अपने प्रोडक्ट्स एंड सर्विसेज को बेचें, और उसके लिए ONDC से बेहतर कोई मॉडल नहीं हो सकता है। इसलिए आज ये प्रयास किया गया है कि अधिक से अधिक संख्या में, आप लोग को ये जान के आश्चर्य होगा कि करीब 5000 लोग हाइब्रिड मोड में ऑनलाइन इसमें जुड़े हुए हैं, इस प्रोग्राम को देख रहे हैं। ये हॉल के अलावा और 2 हॉल भी भरे हुए हैं। इतना लोगों में इंटरेस्ट है ONDC में। और मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा और निवेदन करूँगा कि इसको केवल लेटर ऑफ इंटेंट तक सीमित न रखें। इसको आप लोग, एंड ONDC से भी ये रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा कि ये जितने लोग आज अपने व्यस्त समय से समय निकाल कर यहाँ आए हैं, उनको अब हम लोग सबसे पहले एज ए प्रायोरिटी कस्टमर या प्रायोरिटी पार्टनर्स ट्रीट करें और उनकी समस्याओं को समझ के उनको सिस्टम पर ऑनबोर्ड कराएं, और जिससे ONDC को भी बहुत फ़ायदा होगा और स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम को भी होगा। मतलब मुझे आज खुद आश्चर्य हुआ जब पता लगा कि करीब 10 यूनिकॉर्न्स, 150 से अधिक हमारे अच्छे स्टार्टअप लेटर ऑफ इंटेंट साइन करने वाले हैं या आज कर चुके हैं। ये शो करता है कि कितना इंटरेस्ट है। एंड हमारे ONDC का जो टैगलाइन है, भारत खुलेगा, वो भारत तभी खुलेगा जब इस पे स्टार्टअप सम्मिलित होगा और हम लोग के सामूहिक प्रयास से हम लोग आगे बढ़ेंगे। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
Thank you, sir, for taking the time to address this distinguished gathering. We would like to extend our gratitude towards your visionary leadership, your contribution and profound insights which made this event possible. Without further ado, I would like to invite on stage Shri Rajesh Kumar Singh, Secretary DPIIT, to enlighten us with his knowledge and vision. With a round of applause, please.
Good morning, everyone. My colleagues on the dais, Sri Sanjeev, Joint Secretary, ONDC MD, Sri Koshi, Mr. Anil Agarwal, other distinguished colleagues on the dais, business leaders, future business leaders from the startup community, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, welcome to all of you to Vanij Bhavan. Just like in the Startup Mahakumbh that we did a couple of months back in Bharat Mandapam, whenever we do an event with startups, we can feel the enthusiasm, the energy that this sector already has. Even here today, I understand that the room is overflowing, and we have some overflow rooms which are also full, and we have a whole bunch of other people who've joined us virtually as well. All reflecting the emergence and growth of India's innovation-led startup ecosystem. At a macro level, let me say that India's emergence as the fastest growing large economy owes a lot to 2 major factors. One is the significant levels of investment India is doing through public sector capital formation. We are now investing 3.2% of our GDP on what we call physical infrastructure, roads, bridges, airports, etc. But a lesser known factor there is continuing investment that we've made in our digital public infrastructure through the through ensuring that data costs remain very low, through rolling out one of the fastest 5G rollouts in the world across all 700 districts. And one of the factors there has been that this has also helped in some ways in creating this, in proliferating this startup ecosystem that we now possess. In areas like fintech, for example, the payment ecosystem that has emerged has really triggered the growth of our fintech startups and some of the highest fintech adoption rates in the world, as all of you are aware. Today, we are very happy that we are seeing the convergence of these two sort of initiatives. On the one hand, our very vibrant, very innovative startup ecosystem, and the ONDC, which is a network which intends to democratize e-commerce in the country, makes it try to ensure that e-commerce does not become limited to duopolies, does not lead to avoidable concentrations of market power, that we create a space where smaller, medium units also can take part. And this is where ONDC comes in, and hopefully our startup ecosystem can also take advantage of ONDC to expand their businesses and gain access to the national and hopefully in the future the international market as well. I'm happy that we are going to see some tangible results as well in this program with over 150 startups, many of them unicorns, who are signing letters of intent during this event with ONDC. As all of you are aware, this is a
As we proceed to the next part of the event, I am delighted to announce a thought-provoking panel discussion to spark stimulating conversations and drive meaningful change. And the topic is Building a Collaborative Future of Indian E-commerce. Let's invite our panelists on stage. Shri Sanjeev, Joint Secretary, DPIIT. Shri Sudatta Mandal, Deputy Managing Director, SIDBI. Ms. Anjali Bansal, Advisory Council Member, ONDC, and Shri Rikant Pandey, Pitti, Chief Operating Officer, Ease My Trip. We'd also like to invite Shri Kanan Chakravarti, Secretary General, Quality Council of India, for the same. Ms. Pratiti Sharma from Startup India team is going to be the moderator for this discussion. I would like for her to take it from here.
A very good morning to one and all gathered here at the first of its kind ONDC Startup Mahotsav 2024. I am Pratiti from the Startup India team, and it is my privilege to welcome a distinguished set of panelists who are staunch representatives from both the public and the private sector. Today we are here to discuss how we can build a collaborative future in the Indian e-commerce market. Today as we stand, India's internet market is second in the world. And this is a fact that is testament to how we are growing as a population in terms of increasing adoption of smartphones or affordable data prices. Things like this have resulted in the growing Indian e-commerce market. May I welcome Shri Sanjeev Sir, Joint Secretary DPIIT, Shri Kanan Chakravarti, Secretary General Quality Control of India, Shri Sudata Mandal, DMD, SIDBI, Srimati Anjali Bansal, Advisory Council Member ONDC, and Shri Khan Pitte, Co-Founder Ease My Trip. Our panel today will share perspectives on not only what the current state of affairs is in the Indian e-commerce market, but how going forward we can tap on the opportunities and overcome challenges in driving the e-commerce wave in our country. So, Sanjeev, so my first question would be to you. So the Government of India founded ONDC on the 31st of December 2021. And it was an effort made for small businesses to come be part of the digital world, that is India representing at this point of time. So how are government initiatives and policies enabling collaborativeness from the ecosystem stakeholders? So how are government policies and initiatives driving that change through initiatives like ONDC, bringing everyone together?
Thank you, Pratiti. ONDC is an initiative which has been led by government during the COVID time, when there was a big challenge how to solve the problem of closed shops and get the products from the shop to individual houses. And it was here in the DPIT itself, Anil Agarwal sir, Anjali ma'am and everybody brainstormed to propose a scheme which is very near to the UPI, which we had become successful by then. And ONDC was built on the basic principle, as all of you are aware, of unbundling of services and interoperability. And the government has been trying its best through various measures to promote ONDC, including startup runway on the GEM portal, and GEM eventually will come on ONDC. So it is whole of the government approach that different aspects of the government are being brought to promote ONDC, so that a small farmer through its FPO from Tamil Nadu can sell its product to somebody wanting to buy it in Kashmir. This is the main USP of ONDC, that anyone, howsoever small the business is, can onboard it. It is not based on the, unlike other platforms, it is a network which is not based on the profit motive, which is the, which makes it unique all over the world. And I think we are committed to provide all kind of support to the ONDC.
Thank you, sir. You mentioned, sir, how seller in Tamil Nadu will probably sell its produce or service. My next question would be to Shri Kanan Chakravarti, who is the Secretary General Quality Council of India. our Indian landscape is very different from the global market, right? Our Indian e-commerce market is very different from the global landscape in terms of market dynamics, in terms of what is the selling, buying ratio, and all of these. So if I can ask you to share some insights on how we stand apart as India and what are our challenges and what are our opportunities that set us apart from the global landscape, sir.
Thank you. Our Honorable Prime Minister's vision is Vikshit Bharat by 2047. To achieve this Vikshit Bharat, one critical thing for all of us is global quality. What is global quality? One is a very strong customer value proposition and delivery excellence or operational excellence. If you look at customer value proposition of a developed country to a developing country like us, the key difference what you will focus on is we are in era 1, where most of the business differentiation, what you make, is focused on productivity and cost. If you look at a developed country like US, Germany, Japan, the customer value proposition has moved on to comfort, convenience, right? So some portion of the market, if you look at like Tanishq, all these things are moving towards comfort and convenience, but most of the customer value proposition is on cost and productivity. This is the key difference how the startup ecosystem is evolving. So some of you passionate people who want to change India need to understand how the macro trends are driving Indian economy. By 2047, we might have a different values on which you differentiate your business. But the need for India to deliver global quality is a very strong differentiated customer value proposition focused on cost and productivity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My next question would be to Shri Mandal, DMD SIDBI. So as the principal financial institution of the country who is responsible for developing and empowering small businesses, startups, and MSMEs, sir. Sir, how can institutions like yours collaborate with government bodies as well as private stakeholders in reducing the financing gap that currently our small businesses and startup ecosystem faces in terms of e-commerce, as far as e-commerce is concerned, sir?
Thank you. As you are all aware that SIDBI is the primary and apex financial institution for the SME sector in the country. And in addition to being a purveyor of credit to the SME sector, we also have a mandate and a big role to play in terms of developing the entire MSME and startup ecosystem. So as part of the promotional and developmental activities, which is a very key part and a big part of our activities, we had collaborated with ONDC. We are proud to associate with ONDC right from its inception. And as of now, the collaboration is primarily on the developmental side, where we are hand-holding these small businesses and artisans to onboard onto the ONDC platform, which provides them with market access. But going forward, the ultimate objective would be to be able to provide credit to these small businesses who transact on ONDC. Now, ONDC being an open network for digital commerce, as the name says, is part of the entire digital initiative of the country, right? Now, India, everybody is aware that India has been a pioneer in developing the public digital infrastructure. The digital rails that the government of India has put in place forms a very strong backbone on which the entire digitization efforts across various sectors are based, right? So, using the data which is now available publicly, lenders, including SIDBI, are coming up with digital credit products where you do not need to rely on the traditional, audited annual accounts or the traditional system of taking collateral, but you have digital data available straight from source, which is an authentic data available on real-time basis. And there are many fintechs in the country who are developing data analytic tools around these data points, giving you a credit score, so it becomes easier for the lenders to do the risk assessment and then start lending digitally. So what we are expecting and hoping is that the transactions on ONDC will enable the small businesses to create a digital footprint in terms of their transactions, in terms of their activities, in terms of their trade, in terms of their payment record, which then can be used by the lenders, including SIDBI, to analyze that data, develop data analytic tools and credit products to provide them with credit. Right? That's the ultimate objective of SIDBI so far as ONDC and digital commerce is concerned. Now, we already have developed a product called GST Sahay, which was tested in the regulatory sandbox of RBI, and it was successfully tested. We have shared the digital stack with all the banks in the country through IBA, and each bank has now started developing their own products around this digital platform, depending on their risk appetite, depending on their target segment. So what essentially it does is, and the product that we have already come up with, is providing working capital to small businesses on tap. Right? Traditionally, how is the working capital finance provided in the country today? You would approach your nearest banker. The banker will ask you for a whole set of documents. He will ask you for your list of collateral that you can offer, assess your risk, worthiness, credit worthiness rather, and assess a limit for you, that this is a limit which I'm setting on you, and based on that limit, then you can draw, and you have to provide the collateral security. Now, that is a very cumbersome process, and I would say a very inefficient way of providing working capital. So what GST Sahay does is that this is for the GST registered businesses. I simply need 3 data points. I need your mobile number, I need your PAN number, and I need your GST number and your consent to fetch your data. So basis the consent that you provide, I will be able to fetch your income tax returns, I will be able to fetch your GST returns, I will be able to fetch aggregator framework and the credit bureau record if there is any. Right? So these kind of digital data which is available through the consent of the borrower is fetched. Basis that consent, we have developed a business rule engine which analyzes this data and gives you unsecured, without any collateral, working capital on tap. Right? So this is for the invoices that you have, be it a purchase invoice or a sales invoice, we can provide you financing against that invoice. And this again is, as I mentioned, it is available on tap, so you don't need to go to any banker to get your limits assessed, so to say. You have a bunch of invoices for which you require financing, you can come onto the platform and get the financing. Tomorrow your cash flows are good enough, you don't require any working capital for the next set of invoices, you need not come onto the platform. So this is a working capital which is going to be available on tap to the small businesses. And I firmly believe that this is going to totally disrupt the way working capital is provided in this country and provide working capital, make credit access to the small and the small businesses and the artisans. So one product which we can easily bring onto the ONDC platform for providing credit digitally to these businesses when they transact on ONDC.
Thank you, sir. Just to add on to whatever, sir, you have mentioned, I would like to ask my next question to Ms. Anjali, who is one of the advisory council members of ONDC as well. If you can help us walk through how we can tap into India's digital prowess, enhance it more, and penetrate the same into the farthest districts of our country, and eventually enhance our rural e-commerce with all of the already listed initiatives and policies that the government of India has already done in terms of GST Sahay or ONDC and initiatives like that, and tap onto rural e-commerce.
First of all, it's wonderful to sit here in this room. It's almost sort of 4 years after we conceptualized ONDC. This was in the first wave of the COVID lockdown, and a bunch of us found ourselves working on a task force with Shri Anil Agarwal. And the task at that point was just to keep supply chain running for essentials in containment zones. And it started with the view of how shall we use digital highways to make this work. I think we often talk about world class. I think there is a new India class in digital public infrastructure. The world has to catch up. We've actually now set the standard on data cost, on penetration, and I will get to your question on rural. So penetration, our ability to access the last mile, whether it is through digital direct benefit transfers, through UPI, through data access. There are 700 million smartphones in India. in my other life at Avana, we look at rural and agri businesses all the time. And one of the things that is emerging is your most remote farmer today has access to YouTube. So they are learning how to do smarter farming and get advisory inputs because they have access to YouTube and other digital platforms. So that's how it started. And given that you can build physical highways, so think about ONDC, UPI, the government's initiatives on building public digital infrastructure as building highways and roads. So earlier, and frankly in other countries as still, if you want to create a business, you first, or you want to drive a vehicle, you first have to build the road, which actually doesn't make sense at all. So the smartest thing to do is to create this amazing network of high-speed highways where they're multi-lane. So everybody can access the highway and ride on it. You can use a bicycle, you can use a car, you can use a bus, and over time, everybody speeds up and you have much better access. Rural e-commerce, India still lives in its villages and tier 3, tier 2. There is lots of urban migration, but one way to arrest and solve for urban migration is to give access to jobs, to employment, and to markets to the rural areas. And that is what UPI, ONDC, and other things, and other initiatives like this do. We have a number of very, very innovative startups, and coming on to ONDC now. Our original initial vision and inspiration was how to give access not to the already digitized, but to the undigitized. And so this is the farmer producer organizations, the artisan groups, the small business, and to me still have a textile manufacturer in Ludhiana who's ordering a small spare part for his machine from Nashik. And that happens seamlessly on ONDC, so that's kind of MSME to MSME commerce. Or a small farmer producer organization, or a rural entrepreneur sitting in Shillong, or a rural part, actually a much more remote part of the Northeast, doing kiwi wine, for example, and who is able to then access large markets and sell her produce there. So that is the power of digital infrastructure. And our physical infrastructure will catch up. I think our digital infrastructure is zooming.
Thank you. Speaking of digital infrastructure, my question now to Shrikant, who you are leading one of India's largest consumer-facing brands, pioneering online travel. If you can walk us through the new age technologies that can drive the entire ecosystem wave, also in terms of smoothing the entire logistics and value chain, right? What we spoke about, tapping into the farthest districts of the country, how can online travel, manifest that in the e-commerce industry?
Great, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for having me over here. And it's an honor for me to be sharing the panel with honorable dignitaries over here. While coming back to your question of new age technologies, I feel that's a very great focus area, especially in the field of online travel. New age technologies such as blockchain, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, IoT, and specifically big data has been significantly impacting the digital infrastructure of online travel in many ways. One that, in terms of artificial intelligence, that has been extensively used in online travel companies in personalized recommendations, personalized experiences, in marketing recommendations to the users based on their past data, as well as in the real-time data of the other users which are coming onto the platform. Second, I will talk about cloud computing. So cloud computing also ensures the travel companies like EaseMyTrip to scale up during the off-peak, to scale up during the demand spikes, maybe in the holiday seasons, and also to scale down the infrastructures during the off-peak seasons, and also the black swan events like COVID, which just recently happened. Third, I'll speak about the blockchain. Blockchain can actually provide a lot of secured and the transparent payments directly from the travelers to the airlines or the hotels or to the railways, while keeping intact the margins and the commissions of the distributors and the retailers like us. Blockchain can also help in building up the loyalty programs, which is like something which can provide flexibility, which can also provide the transparency, and can also help in reducing the program cost overall. IoT devices has been also extensively used by the airlines to track the luggage of the users, and also being used by the hotels to customize the room temperature or the lighting and many other things. In terms of the travel ecosystem, right? So I would say that integration is definitely the key to success in online travel. Small players not being able to integrate with the large players or the suppliers because of the lack of integration capabilities, be it the low tech bandwidth. But I believe that with ONDC specifically being in place, the small players will be able to integrate with the large suppliers very easily, and therefore they will be able to create the demand, they will be able to sell their products to a wide variety of consumers. So that's what I feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Considering that we have large set of startups present here today, both physically and virtually, what would be a parting message to all of our startups and aspiring entrepreneurs what they can tap into for the next 3 to 5 years, maybe not 10 because we don't know how the future changes. In the next 3 to 5 years, what should India as a country focus on, and what should we tap into? What are our fortes? Just how can we drive the entire e-commerce wave and tap into it and become the largest e-commerce market in the world? So, sir, if you can start.
First, we have to think up to 2047, and our planning should be such that it should be short term, medium term, and very long term. The ultimate objective of our planning is to make Indian startup ecosystem the #1, and we have started already taking small steps, like many of you would be aware about the Bhaskar, where we are trying to bring all the ingredients of the ecosystem at one place, and especially we will be focusing on future entrepreneurs, that if anybody in India wants to start a startup, what he or she is required to do, what is the regulations which he or she has to take care, because it has been seen that though startups have many innovative ideas, but at times they are lacking with knowledge of regulatory practices prevalent in India. So we'll be taking up Bhaskar, and we will be promoting manufacturing startups and incubators and accelerators in a big way. India is at the cusp of manufacturing revolution, and it is the work of our own startups that works on it, and we have a beautiful startup ecosystem. And the best thing, Anil Agrawal sir is sitting here, and when he came here, he said that the energy level in this room is different. And this is what makes the startups different. We keep on coming here, and most of the time, people are just biding time, seeing mobiles and just chit-chatting, and just because government has called them, they come. But I could feel when I had gone to see of my secretary, sir, some of the startups came and met, and they are all bubbling with ideas. And this is, we have to build on this eagerness to innovate, and the entrepreneurship should spread all across the India. Anyone in any village of India should have the facilities to start a startup, and in this ONDC will be playing a very big role, because it is agnostic to the place. As many of you are aware that most of the big platforms are offering service only to metros and big towns. One of my friends from a big platform is laughing, but that is the fact. And we need that our startups from the remotest village should be able to onboard ONDC and sell their products. And I think this is not my message, this is the message of each one of us sitting in this room.
Thank you, sir. I think that's a good note to end the discussion. Just end the discussion, but not end the show that India is driving on. So thank you very much, respected panelists, for your time. Okay. We'll just click a photograph. And
I would request all the panelists to join the audience, please. We'll start the next session in 2 minutes. I would request everyone to please settle. We are going to start the next session in another 2 minutes, please. Now, let's move to the next session, the ONDC Startup Success Story. To start with, I would like to invite Shri Anil Agarwal, Member Competition Commission of India and Member Advisory Council, ONDC, who laid the foundation of ONDC back in 2021. I need your kind attention, please. I would request everyone to please settle down. Shri Anil Agarwal, Member Competition Commission of India and Member Advisory Council ONDC. He's laid the foundation of ONDC back in 2021. I would like him to share the success story of ONDC with everyone. Also, I would like to invite Shri Atul Mehta, Chief Operating Officer, Ship Rocket, Shri Anshu Sharma, CEO, Magic Pen, and Shri Himanshu Chakravarti, CEO, Snapdeal, to join him to the dais.
Requesting everybody to settle down, please. I would now like to request Shri Anil Agarwal, Member, Competition Council, Commission of India, and member of ONDC board, to talk about ONDC as a success story. Anil sir was one of the first people who laid the foundation of ONDC in 2021. Sir, we welcome you for your views.
A very warm welcome to everyone who's in this hall, who's in adjacent halls, and who are all online, investing their time in this particular event. You know, Sanjeev, this is one of the dream events for me. We built up Startup India brick by brick. And there are people in this hall, Anjali included, where we built different programs of Startup India, starting from the seed fund, the National Startup Awards, the ranking framework, the funding platform, the fund of funds. We regularized so many things, gradually building up the startup ecosystem from. We started with 17, there were about less than 1,000 startups. And now you have startups across the country, every state, every UT, every district, and we take pride in saying that. But we still have a lot more distance to cover and to reach Honorable Prime Minister's objective of having one startup in each block. That is the target. That is there. One startup in each block. We've reached 80–85% of the districts, but we are yet to reach every block, a startup in every block, and that is the, that is the kind of effort that is needed there. On the other hand, Providence had it that, we had in DPIT, there were two separate divisions looking after internal trade and e-commerce. This was 2019-20. There was a separate division for e-commerce and a separate division for internal trade. And as it would happen, they were fighting with each other because, the synergies will never come. So the first thing that we did was combine the two divisions so that they think of one and make the whole trade technology neutral. So that was the first strategic decision taken at the level of Government of India to combine the physical trade and the e-commerce together. So it has to be technology neutral. So that was the thought behind that. And then, because of that synergy, whole lot of policy initiatives started flowing in from there. And then, COVID happened. So Anjali briefly mentioned that was the time when actually it was a case of Aapda mein Avsar, as Honorable PM calls it. So our minister, Commerce Minister, he composed 6 groups. One of the groups was, I was part of that group, and then we were asked to look at how innovation and technology could help citizens who are affected by the COVID. And it is a matter of chance that I had internal trade, e-commerce, and startups all with me in one particular charge. So we could actually synergize a lot of things. Effort started with ensuring essential supplies to citizens trapped in containment zones. And then we realized that those in multi-storied buildings, for example, if they have something which they can get from the neighborhood store, there is no connect. And if that neighborhood store is on one particular e-commerce platform, the buyer is on another, so there is no way of bridging the two so that they could come on a common kind of a platform. That was the idea. So we through the Startup India team that time, we ran grand challenges. And then Anjali comes up with a bright idea. She says, there is a foundation which has done some technology work, and we could probably build a DPI kind of stuff for commerce. So, we are very happy. We have a huge experience in doing what we do with the public digital interface, public digital DPIs. So we thought, okay, let's try this. But then, protocols for payment as a single dimension versus protocol for commerce, which has too many aspects, was a very, very complicated stuff. And then everybody that we spoke about this idea, including my whole lot of colleagues within the department and outside of it, everybody said, this is a foolish thing and you should not be attempting it at all. And as it happens, sometimes, this is what I want to tell all the startups here. If you are convinced about what you are doing is right, don't bother about what people are telling you. If you have the conviction, go ahead and do it. We had that conviction. In fact, the first grant that we got was on personal credibility. A small grant of 2 crores, which you gave to QCI for starting a pilot project. At the most, kya hoga? 2 crore rupees waste hi to hoga. That is what I said, and then I got the money. And that is how, this entire thing. And, coming these two things together, ONDC and startup, is a dream come true for me. And the kind of energy that this event has is marvelous. I can go on and on how we can build this up, but I just wanted to give, in a very brief, one simple thing. The initial project document of ONDC, the name was Open Commerce Network for Bharat. It was OCNB. OCNB. That was the name that was given. And then I said, no, this is not the right name. We will give it an international name so that it has international appeal. And we are not doing something only for the rural part of it. There has to be a lot of glamour associated with it. There has to be the class associated with it. And then, so we call it ONDC, Open Network for Digital Commerce, which has global appeal. And it has ultimately to go global. And that is what I would like to ask you. Somebody said, what would be your vision for the next 3 to 5 years? And that is what I would like all of you to think about this. The panelists here for this panel have actually done very well in India now. And we have the audacity to say that at ONDC, we are trying to fundamentally reorganize the way world does e-commerce. The way world does e-commerce. And in India, we are, what we've done is visible here. We are doing what we can. But like the whole IT industry providing services to the entire world, today's startups who are working on ONDC, look at yourself as providing similar services to global markets across the world. I would request Koshi to look at how you can take it global, right? NPCI has taken UPI global. There are a set of things that you may have to do. Think about what steps, maybe we have to build different catalogs, different regulations and everything. There could be a whole lot of other things that may be needed, but can we not think about doing something like this? And those who are already having conviction in this idea, having tasted success in India, also having some global experience of global markets, can you not have a look at, experimenting with something like this? So with this, I would stop here, and then I would invite some of the esteemed members of, and this particular panel has actually been composed specially to give you some ideas of what successes have been achieved with ONDC, right? So we have 3 companies here, ShipRocket, Magic Pin and Snapdeal. ShipRocket and Magic Pin have some slides, so they will share their own slides. Snapdeal would like to speak without the slides, so I would invite Himanshu first. And yeah, so Himanshu is very, very senior, this thing, IT, IIM, he ticks, you know, all boxes, e-commerce and everything. So Snapdeal joined, Snapdeal was one of the first companies to join ONDC in June 22, and now they have a huge presence across. So I would request Himanshu to share his experience on what they've been able to achieve to inspire all those who have joined this event today to see, you know, their own future trajectories here.
Thank you, sir, for your guidance in making ONDC a success. Now let's his success story. Please come, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Anilji, for the inspiring speech and, of course, for the initiative of having this session and for inviting us. Anshu, hello, and Atul, of course, I've known from his Amazon days, so the old friends. Mr. Koshi, Anjali ji, many others in the house here, and of course, all the startups and the rest of the fraternity. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be speaking here, and I'm going to cover my sort of, this little few minutes into 2 parts. One is talking about Snapdeal, and the second is, of course, Snapdeal on ONDC. So we'll break it up into 2 parts. The first one is on Snapdeal, and we are specifically referring to Snapdeal 2.0 version. Now, Snapdeal 2.0 version in many ways is quite different from the first version. In the version 2.0, we are building the finest lifestyle value destination for the country, value lifestyle destination for the country. Now, what does that mean? That essentially means that we are targeting the mid-income to lower-income groups. Large number of the mid and the lower-income groups are in the smaller parts of the country, smaller towns, Mufassil towns, villages, rural areas. Now, what's the nature of this market when we look at the value lifestyle segment? The nature of this market is there are, shops, bazaars, mandis, hats, everything is there. Then you have, of course, the e-commerce which comes into these. And what you find is at the range of 200, 300, 400 rupee t-shirts, for example, you find, and I think my namesake, Mr. Chakravarti from QCI was talking about this point, that the quality is quite erratic. It's not, in fact, it's not comparable with many other geographies. And the customers actually in the price segment, which is the lower price segment, face this repeatedly, where the quality is not really up to the mark in most of the lifestyle categories, and brands are largely non-existent, largely. And that also, of course, is the opportunity for all the D2C brands to scale up at those price points. Now, therefore, one of the primary things that we decided is that we will ring-fence the customers by bringing in, good quality norms, good quality checks, curating sellers, curating merchandise, to ensure that whatever they buy on our platform is of a certain minimum good quality. So that's one index. Yeah. Pricing, of course, is the important one. In the mass market, pricing has to be sharp. So it's a balance between pricing and quality. The second part of our journey is in terms of what we create on the app, or on the M site. This is, again, as I said, large part of our business comes in from the secondary, tertiary towns and smaller towns of India. Our metro contribution is only around 13–14%. It's very small. It's largely in the small, and many of you will not be shoppers on Snapdeal, most probably. Yeah, it's in the smaller towns. Now, one of the primary things when you do that is that this is actually an audience which needs to be given much more simplistic approach, visual-led, easy language, easy descriptions, and of course, very importantly, in their own language. That's the important part, yeah? You cannot tackle. We are doing this conference, of course, in English here, but Hindustan ki ye zuban nahi hai. अलग अलग भाषाओं का प्रयोग होता है पूरे हिंदुस्तान में, और उसी के हिसाब से e-commerce बनेगा, अंग्रेजी ज़ुबान में नहीं बनेगी. So इसीलिए that's one of the primary things that we do is to focus double index on the experience of the customers in the smaller towns. And how are they going to, and these are not very well-to-do customers in smaller towns, we are talking about middle to low income groups in smaller towns. So that's the second differentiation, where the platform is not crafted for the metro audiences with complex procedures, with complex detailing, complex checkout processes. It's a very simplified version to allow the customer from small town India to transact on the platform. So that's the second part. And the third part, of course, is very important, and this is the most important part, is that if you look at the number of people with smartphones or internet connections in India, it's anywhere between 700 to 800 odd million. The number of people transacting on e-commerce is around, give or take, 250 odd million people, right? Now, out of this 250 million, lot of them have come into the e-commerce fold because of the initiatives taken by the government over the last 5, 7, 8 years. It's also helped by other ecosystem things which took place, and we were talking about COVID. COVID helped in the process. As also the reduction in the data rates which Jio brought in, and then of course everybody followed. So the whole ecosystem with the government policies and the push for the digital part along with all this has resulted in 250 million people. Large number of them are from, in the last few years, have come in from the mid to low income, the value segment they've come in. But the next 200 to 250 million, so we said 750, 800 million, and 250 million are transacting. The next 200 to 250 million, which will come into e-commerce in the next 3 odd years or 4 odd years, are going to be all largely from the value segment. Whoever from the prosperous segment had to be first-time user on e-commerce is already there. And that's one of the very important ones in terms of how we craft the whole work for the ecosystem. Now that brings me to why did we tie up with ONDC? Yeah? And that is the important part, that ONDC is actually trying to bring in this vibrant ecosystem of the buyers, customers from across the country, and very importantly, sellers. Every village, every taluka, every tehsil, every block, everywhere across the country, we will see lots and lots of entrepreneurs with their own ideas emerging. And ONDC would enable that. Most of us on our own will not be able to do that at that scale. And ONDC enables that. And that's why in July 2022, we signed up with ONDC. As one of the first partners, we signed an MOU. And we went live on a very small scale basis in March, April, less than a year, slightly more than a year back, on a very small scale basis. We have grown in size. We have grown in the number of orders that we have. We have added sellers, we have got more customers, and I think one of the key things which is also taking place is the learning exchange that we have. Our teams, the category teams, in fact, if you go to the cafeteria of ONDC, probably once a month, twice a month, thrice a month, you'll find lots of our people interacting with the category teams of ONDC. So we have regular interactions, our teams. That helps both sides understand, gain knowledge, and understand, and try to crack the ecosystem, grow the ecosystem together in a very collaborative manner. So that's how we have been working, and it's been a good journey so far. It's been, of course, full of challenges as well. No journey is completely smooth. It's full of challenges, but we have been surmounting and taking those challenges and moving forward. We also think many of the other initiatives that the government takes is of great use to us. So, for example, we have now gone and met up and working with, for example, Bhashini. We think in the language space, which is very important for this market, I think there is a fantastic opportunity. Yeah, the global companies will not develop LLMs on languages the same way as Indian enterprises or Indian government can do. So that's another one where we have actually met up. We are going to meet up with them. The other thing, Anilji, you were talking about is outside the country. Now, for example, very interestingly, if you were to look at just our friendly neighboring countries, we're not discussing all the countries, but friendly neighboring countries, their infrastructure, their e-commerce is nowhere as close to what we have in India. That offers a ready-made market. So we have had meetings with, for example, the India Post. They have an international division we've had, and they are trying to make to have a mechanism to work with, let's say, Bhutan as an example, which is a landlocked country, and really nowhere close to an e-commerce that India is. So many of these things, I think, in the partnership era that we are in, yeah, collaborative era, can result in great ecosystem benefit to everyone and including to private enterprise. So with that, thank you again, sir, for inviting us, and it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting us know how Snapdeal has created a very collaborative partnership with ONDC and how it has benefited both the organizations. I would now like to request Mr. Atul Mehta from Shiprocket to present their journey on ONDC and how Shiprocket is utilizing ONDC's platform.
Thank you. First of all, very inspiring opening words, Anil sir, on how truly ONDC is a new paradigm of doing commerce. I don't think anywhere across the world is the buyer and the seller ecosystem so unbundled as a protocol which we thought of as ONDC and trying to do. A warm welcome to everyone and thanks for having me here. I am Atul Mehta. I lead domestic shipping at Shiprocket. At Shiprocket, we are trying to, a bit about Shiprocket, we are trying to democratize e-commerce in the country. We work with thousands of MSMEs and we are trying to build an all-in-one e-commerce ecosystem across 3 verticals. We are saying we'll give you a supply chain platform to help you do shipping, warehousing, cargo movement, store fulfillment. We're also building a cross-border platform to help Indian merchants sell outside, access 200, 300 countries globally, and also set up store there, not only shipping, but also enable them to launch and access those markets. And the third one, which is the MarTech platform of helping these small MSMEs increase their business by solutions like single-click checkout, a CDB platform, etc. That's what the journey we are on. We today power around 3 billion of e-commerce in the country. That's almost 5% of total e-commerce which happens. So that's a sizable chunk. We work with some 250K plus merchants we have served, doing 200 million plus transactions. We've worked with a lot of MSMEs, and that's our focus area of how we can enable the small businesses in the country to ride on the e-commerce journey, make it simple for them, accessible for them as we do that. And a partnership with ONDC was very intuitive, very seamless for us because the mission statement and the objective were very similar. We want to set up a very free and fair e-commerce system, democratize it, enable everyone to be able to access what is available on the e-commerce side from the smallest seller across the country, whether he's sitting in Tamil Nadu or in Manipur or in Delhi, Jaipur, Ludhiana, etc. Right? So that's how we started with ONDC in the early days. We in fact started as the logistics app. And as you would have seen in the first slide, we are a supply chain platform at heart, right? We do enable shipping for our merchants. So we said, let's enable logistics on the platform. We were the first intercity logistics app, the most affordable rates, across the country coverage. We have India Post as a partner, and hence sellers on ONDC today can access India Post through Shiprocket as the logistics partner. And that journey went on, and we were able to help serve the merchants and enable them to ship. But then an interesting pivot happened, and that's a good learning for everyone from the startup community here of how by partnering with ONDC we could in fact invent a new business for us, right? We were always logistics, but we saw an opportunity to enable the merchants we were doing logistics for to be a seller on the network, right? To become a seller app. We were never doing catalog or anything related to catalog before. But just because we were participating on the network, it opened up a new business opportunity for us, right? We could enable sellers to access ONDC. We built a seamless single-click Shopify onboarding for our merchants, the best order management infrastructure for them so that they don't have to bother about it. The way we run it is they are doing their Shopify stores. We enable their catalog on ONDC, and when an order drops for the merchant, it seamlessly flows back into Shopify and gets processed as other orders would have been processed, right? So for a merchant, accessing ONDC became very easy, and we could do that for our merchants. And while we were doing it, we also extended it to say, can I enable even the smaller merchants who don't have access to Shopify, who don't have a web store, who are selling on social commerce, who are selling on Instagram, WhatsApp, to be able to access the network as well. So extending catalog to enable mobile-only onboarding so that the smallest of the seller can, within 3-4 minutes, use the mobile app, create the catalog, and publish it onto the network, right? So and I think it's a good learning for all of us sitting here, that as you participate in a network which is as diverse, with so many opportunities, it would be interesting for you to extend outside what potentially you're doing on current business lines or whatever your startup mission, etc. today is, right? So that was the partnership, and what it has helped is it has helped our merchants to access incremental demand at the lowest cost possible channel, right? Comparing to the big marketplaces, it's a very low cost channel for our merchants or our sellers to access demand and get orders. More importantly, they retain the customer, right? They know the customer, they can engage with the customer. It's their order which they're getting through ONDC. That's a massive win for the smaller sellers, right? Who are otherwise on marketplaces paying very high commissions and not even having access to the buyer information. For us, it's been a big win because I have been able to help merchants outside shipping for the first time. I've been able to help our sellers get demand. I've been able to help them grow. So that drives affinity, that drives more stickiness. So for a business, for us, any merchant who's on ONDC enabled through us has very high stickiness. They grow, their mortality rate is low. And yeah, it's a business expansion. We are a seller app now. We were never into catalog, and we have been able to leverage ONDC to be able to extend into a new business line altogether. Today, we are live with 7,000 plus sellers. A lot of them smaller sellers, 73% of them are under 50 lakh annual turnover. 500 plus sellers onboarded through our partnership with the ONDC team, a lot of government entities, NCCF activities, Adi Mahotsav, ODOP, and a lot of sellers we have enabled on the platform through interventions like mobile-only onboarding or Shopify single-click onboarding. So we're very proud of that. This is where sellers across the country have come from, right? So it's not only the metro sellers who have been able to access ONDC. It's sellers across every state who are today live on ONDC through our platform and network, and we feel really, really proud of giving them an access into this very exciting protocol. And yeah, 8 lakh plus catalog. Today, across those 7,000 sellers on the protocol, there is 8 lakh plus catalogs, t-shirts, soaps, shampoos, etc., which is available for the buyer apps to build on top of. That's a massive catalog. That's an advantage which marketplaces always had against anyone who wanted to start e-commerce on the buyer side. ONDC democratizes it. Today, a fourth-year college student can think of writing a buyer app and be able to access this 8 lakh plus catalog and be able to create a books marketplace or a premium fashion marketplace or something of that sort, right? And it's very democratic. The seller doesn't have to onboard onto all the buyer apps individually. Seller is onboarded onto the network, and there could be thousands of people writing buyer apps over the next couple of years, and you have like thousands of brilliant shopping destinations emerging on the basis of just one catalog layer, which is powered by the ONDC protocol. So that's very exciting. What makes it work so well, just our reflections, I think the protocol is very robust. It's very complicated. It has to have catalog, it has to have catalog rating, it has to have order processing, it has to have payments. But I think a lot of effort has gone into making it very robust and very seamless for you to onboard. So anyone who wants to participate, you'll see as you start getting onboarded, it's very seamless, right? Building on the protocol is also very easy because it is very well defined, and hence it's not that you'll take 12 months to onboard. You can onboard very easily, very seamlessly. There are a lot of width of use cases are covered. I'm talking about commerce. We have mobility, we have food, we have a lot of other things I keep hearing about, what new use cases we are extending to. So that's great. And yeah, it's an opportunity to leverage ecosystem capabilities. As ShipRocket alone, if we were to build something, we would have been restricted by what we can build. But when we are part of ONDC, we can build on top of what somebody else is building to create magic, right? And that's, I think, phenomenal about the protocol. And hence, yeah, call out to everyone who's not on the network, join us, because it's truly flywheel. The more number of people who will participate in the network, the better it will be. The more sellers are there, the more buyer apps are there, the more other solutions which come on the protocol, the ecosystem starts growing, yeah? So be a part of the protocol, drive MSME growth, and yeah, it's a gateway to reach 250 million plus shoppers, which will potentially be 500 million plus very soon, and truly a place where 1 + 1 becomes 11, because like I said earlier, you build on top of each other. Individually, you might be building something on the protocol, democratized, we can actually complement each other and build on top. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting us know how you've been able to work with ONDC to truly democratize e-commerce, because that's the ultimate aim of ONDC as well. I would now like to request Mr. Anshu Sharma from Magic Pin to share how Magic Pin has leveraged ONDC in their own businesses. Please, sir.
Hi, I'm Anshu, co-founder of Magic Pin. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to this audience and this forum. It's a pleasure to be here. Very fascinating to listen about how ONDC itself came into existence and how startups, fellow entrepreneurs, they've gone on to build success stories. My first interaction with ONDC was around a little over a year back. I remember this conversation with Koshi when he said that we are going to bring all local merchants online on the platform. And I said, that's anyway what we are trying to do. So then why not get started? And what started off as a simple project, let's see what happens, in the course of the last 12 months has transformed, I'd say, what we do, what we very deeply believe in, and what we see as the opportunity for Magic Pin as well as the retail ecosystem. So before I jump into what exactly happened and where we are now and what's going to happen on ONDC from here onwards, I'll just take a couple of minutes and just talk about what Magic Pin is. If we have the slides, those can be put up. Otherwise, I'm happy to continue anyway. So the name Magic Pin comes from pin a location on the map, and we'll show you the magic about that location. What is the magic? The magic is the retailers, the ecosystem, the markets that we live in. India has a $1 trillion retail market. Interestingly, 90% of this retail market is offline. And it consists of millions of retailers. However, if you think about the customers, and we spoke about 700 million online users, customers are all online now. So, and that's where the paradox is. Consumers are all online, but when they go and shop, they go offline and shop. And the retailers of our country, to put it mildly, are very value conscious. They are not going to go online on a Google or an Instagram and do an ad which they don't know what they'll get out of. But they want to be in the lives of their users. They want to have a fair chance that when online companies are marketing to these customers, the customers are likely to come offline. They want to be in the lives of these customers who are online. And that's where Magic Pin comes in. We bring the local markets alive on the user's phone. We work across categories: fashion apparel, small mom and pop food joint, a fine dine place, nightlife, beauty, any kind of offline experience. We would be the starting point for the user to discover these places and then finally transact. And what we provide is an opportunity to discover and save when going to those merchants. But very uniquely, our primary proposition or the stakeholder is the retailer. And there are millions of those in our country. And what we do for them that is unique is that we are pay per conversion. We say to them, we will do the job of reaching out to your customers who are online, but you pay us only when and if they transact at your store. And COVID made this proposition omni-channel. So not just going to the store, but ordering from those stores while at your home. That proposition is what Magic Pin does. And when I said earlier, our true position on the network is that of a seller app. to say all of these merchants we were previously able to market only on Magic Pin surface. But what ONDC let us do is that we could put them on the network, and then suddenly they became available at any of the buyer apps who have access to many more large millions of users across the country. And that is a win-win for everyone. It's a win for the merchant because they are able to now reach out to many more consumers than they were able to. It's a win for other buyer apps because they don't have to go out and acquire all of those merchants, and at zero fixed cost, they can just on a per transaction basis start to show things. And it's a win for the customer who can now, across so many different buyer apps, reach out to the same merchant. So that's exactly the theory of ONDC, right? Now, when we went live, and this was sometime in May last year, we realized that we went on, but nothing much happened. And we then realized that the concept of network and the protocol is abstract. It needs to be converted to something real. And that's where we started to take the role of something more than just being a seller app, be a technology provider. And we started this journey with Paytm. And I think it was almost around 12 months back when there was this big PR around that for food delivery now, other than the two large incumbents, you have a third option, and Paytm is the one which is fronting it, right? The reason we could make that happen is with the buyer app, we could give them a simple technology layer through which discovery of food merchants around you became dead simple. See, it's a very important point that every category that a customer purchases in has got its own intricate journey. And just by making a merchant available, the catalog available, it doesn't work. You have to think through the sort, the filters, the search, the personalization. There are a bunch of things associated. And customers have a very high bar. There are incumbents in the market who've been working on it for years, who've spent billions of dollars. So it's very hard for a new buyer app to just suddenly come in and start to provide that same quality of service. But the moment we started to provide this technology layer, that became an opportunity for the buyer app to be able to reach out with the best-in-class experience. And that blew things up. So what started then with a few thousand orders is now at a point where I can say that we have a plan to get to 1 lakh orders in a day on the network. That is a massive story. It's a massive story not just in what is possible, but what is already happening. And I'd say the beauty of it is still not that we've got all the large names, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the food delivery, that in the food delivery market, whether it's a Domino's or it's a McDonald's or a KFC, a Burger King, any of the large guys, but 2 lakh more small merchants across our country who are a part of the network, not just as being part of the network, but on a daily basis are starting to see orders. And what that has done, that in the minds of these merchants, local merchants, they now have a belief that they will have a third front which they can call their own. That, I think, is the fundamental shift which has happened because of the work that we've done over the last years. So I can talk about millions of orders that we've done, but that, I think, is just a drop in the ocean compared to the belief which now exists in the retail ecosystem that I now have a front which is working as per my requirements. We are seeing them give better prices, different catalog altogether, saying, how can I market you? How can I put tapes or cards in the orders that I'm selling wherever I'm selling, such that my orders start to come through this network? I think that is just a fundamental shift and shows the power of something which can be more democratic versus how single platforms are getting built. I think with that in place, my belief is that the coming year should be the point where we should see economic value beyond the concept and the potential, say market share of all of these merchants will continue to grow on the network. What example of that is, we are a hyper-local business finally. In the markets where we are deep, we now see up to 10% of the market share, like 10% of total home delivery orders are being done via ONDC. I'm not talking about just our orders, I'm talking about the whole market's food delivery orders. It makes a difference when the whole ecosystem comes together, provide them the technology, provide them the tools, and that is leading to one more thing which is happening, which is unbundling not just of the platform around demand gen, but also around logistics. right? Just like intercity or e-commerce logistics, hyperlocal logistics seems like it's at the threshold where that can start to get unbundled, where merchants are saying, okay, I'll use demand gen from one platform, but I'll do logistics from another. That opens, so all of this has been monolithic so far, if you think about it, right, on food delivery context. That can open up. That combined with EVs coming in, which crashes the cost of delivery, creates another disruption opportunity. And then we have partners like, for example, Nola, right, who are in a position where they are reducing the cost of that delivery. I think all of these plays were never possible before. The cost of disruption, the cost of a new company growing, all of these are just very hard. All of this becomes possible. So this combination of belief, these forces moving on ground, as companies, us not having to do bilateral conversations, but just through APIs do BizDev, which already exists, that creates an opportunity for something big to happen. I use this analogy, and I'll just stop after this, that retail, offline retail, if you think about it, a product which you want to buy, it's available through so many thousands, right, if not hundreds of thousands of stores. But when you think of the same distribution in the online world, a product is available at two players, right? Any category that you pick up, e-commerce, food delivery, mobility. But if we are democratizing, but alongside that commoditizing the distribution, demand gen, then the same product should be available at many more places. There are so many high DAO surface apps, right? Like who have a lot of users on a daily basis. It might be a gaming app, it might be a mobility app, it could be like a banking app, a telco app. If they could, in a very seamless way, immediately start to provide high quality services within that niche, right? Whether it's e-commerce players from different parts of the state or my local neighborhood, that suddenly just opens up the market in a way that was not possible. So I'm very excited to be a part of this journey, and I'm looking forward to where things go from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anshu, for taking us through the journey of Magic Pin on ONDC. I would now like to request all the panelists to step to the stage for a quick group photograph, please. So please, with this, I'm also very happy to tell all of you that we have surpassed 3,000 viewership online, and this number is increasing every second. Thank you everyone who has joined us online, and thank you everyone who has joined us here today. Now we have another panel discussion on driving startup growth through ONDC. While we had a lot of success stories, now we have potential startups and companies who are ready to be onboarded on ONDC and who are excited with its prospects. I would now like to request all the panelists to come on the stage. Shri E. Srinivas, Joint Secretary, DPIIT. Shri Ujjwal Sinha from CAST 24. Shri Atul Kumar from PhysicsWala. And Shri Pavan Nanda, CEO and co-founder of Winzo Games. I would request all the panelists to please step on the stage. We'll start the panel discussion in another minute. And we also have Shri Shirish Joshi from ONDC who will be moderating the panel discussion. Would request everyone to step on the stage, please.
Can I request a Startup India volunteer to come front of stage? Anyone? Would you come? And I want to show the back of the t-shirt to the audience. Okay. So that's actually the theme of this session, infinite innovations. Because ONDC is not limited by a specific use case. It is not limited by a specific adoption. It is actually only limited by as far as your imagination can go. So if you can imagine it, it can become possible. One of the things that became possible, and we are very excited to announce, is Prasad went live. So from ISKCON temple in Mumbai, you can now order Prasad sitting where you are. The first lot of 50 units have actually been delivered in time for this event. They are available in the cafeteria, so when you break, please avail yourself some Prasad from ISKCON temple, courtesy Ship Rocket's delivery. Thank you, Ship Rocket. So this is just an illustration of there is no limitation to what a network can bring in terms of what could be the use case, what could be the product, what could be the service. And today on the panel, we have an exciting set of organizations. We'll begin first by understanding a little bit of what they do, and then we'll get deep into what are some of the possibilities that they are seeing or they can possibly see. Pawan, let me begin with you. And why don't you introduce, I'm sure you're a household name, but still let people know a little bit detail as to what are the verticals and how you're seeing opportunities for growth in general. We'll come to ONDC in a minute.
Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for providing me and Vinzo this opportunity to be present here. I think we have spoken about the energy of the room for quite some time. I think one of the biggest reasons why the entire atmosphere is so energetic is because of the folks who are leading it, right from Anil sir to Sanjeev sir to Koshi sir, Shirish, and the entire ONDC team. I think you've pulled off something really exceptional here, and the future is ours to capture. Coming to Vinzo, I'll very briefly introduce what we do. We are basically India's largest social gaming platform. We are about 6 years old. We started back in 2018, and our entire business is built on the back of UPI. Had UPI been not there, we wouldn't be sitting here. So the way our business model works, it's an absolutely open gaming platform. Third-party game developers, anybody who's making any game, can simply integrate their content on our application, and then a user can just download Vinzo's app, which is somewhat a super app of gaming. You can consider it like a Netflix game, wherein user can play any of those games in real-time multiplayer mode with other users. Of course, we know that, especially in tier 2 to tier 5 cities, the digital entertainment or the penetration of digital entertainment has superseded offline modes, right? There won't be as many shopping malls or movie halls in smaller cities and towns, but now everybody is playing games or is on YouTube. And that has resulted in an exponential growth that Vinzo has witnessed. Today, if I talk about the scale, we have about 175 million users who spend anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes playing games or interacting socially with other gamers. And what we have also enabled for the game developers, we have about 100 plus game developers on our platform. What we have enabled for them is a free market where earlier they were relying on Google or Apple to monetize their games, and we all know that they charge, big tech charges about 30% commissions, and have completely opened the market, opened this platform for any game developer to just integrate. And that has resulted in 10x revenue growth from them. The model why I mentioned is a result of UPI, because the way we monetize is on the back of microtransactions. People can play a game for as low as 2 rupees. And just to share the scale, today, these 175 million users that Vinzo has, they generate about 50 million digital transactions every single month. Just to give you a sense of the scale, out of every 250 UPI transactions that happen in India, one happens on Vinzo as a platform. And we are not a payments platform like Google Pay or PhonePe. We are a gaming app. So that's a brief on us.
It's quite an incredible introduction. Thank you, Pawan. Let's move on to Atul Kumar. And Atul, why don't you give us a similar introduction on PhysicsWallah and what do you see as your lines of business and your growth challenges?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me here. So at PhysicsWallah, we are trying to democratize education, mainly trying to reach the nooks and corners of India, the remotest villages and pin codes of India, because we truly believe that the access to quality education is still a challenge there. How we do it? So one of the things we believe is that we have built a very robust distribution channel through YouTube. Around 45 million subscribers are there. And we are impacting lives of more than 50 lakh students annually. We believe that there is a lot of synergy with what ONDC is trying to do as a platform for the merchants, solving the distribution for them. Yeah, so we are very excited to explore opportunities with ONDC and see the impact going forward. Yeah.
Thank you. Ujjwal, let me move on to you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure being here. I represent Cars24. We've been in the business for the last 8 years. 2015 is when we started with a vision to solve problems for the car sellers, and eventually, in the last couple of years, we've expanded to car buyers and anything around cars. So,
a government organization which provides the various data like Sarathi, which provides the driver data, then Vahan, which provides the vehicle data, GST data, DigiLocker, which provides the identification data. So using all these applications, there are a lot of startups which are developing use cases which help us in the optimization of routes, tracking and tracing of our vehicles. So there are many, further we are also trying to link ULIP with our Prime Minister, that Gati Shakti National Master Plan information also, so that more kind of apps can be developed, which will be useful for the transportation and logistic sector. Thank you, sir.
Srinivas, if I may continue with you. Yeah. So can you share some of these conversations that you're having with startups? What are the kinds of opportunities they are exploring?
Yeah, they're, as I told you, like they're looking for the end-to-end visibilities, like any truck which goes loaded in one direction, there's no traffic available in the next, while returning back. So such kind of monitoring system where the businesses can be expected in the return direction also, and in the meantime they can, so that they reduce the rates also. It's a benefit to both the service provider and at the same time the consumer. And for all the tracking and timeliness also, we are through these apps we are able to track it.
Excellent. So using excess capacity and opportunity for cost reduction.
That's it. Okay.
Ujjwal, let me come to you and talk to us a little bit about what are the growth challenges your organization faces.
Look, I'll just give you a small data point. In India, there are around 30 car owners in a span of 1,000 people, whereas in the West, the same number is 800 to 1,000. So, one, the opportunities to grow is huge. It's huge. I think one problem that we face is basically the reach. While we understand that a lot of them lie in the top 7 cities, penetrating the hinterlands is something that we still are a little, not there at. So I think that's one challenge that the organization faces. Of course, on the services side, there are a lot of things like, the document transfers, etc., that are still a hassle. So those are the things which we face as an organization and which are challenges for the consumers as well, and which we want to solve. So I think that is where we want to be, and I think that's something that we need to focus on.
So one is experience, you're solving for documentation difficulty. Yeah. The other is connectivity at scale. You're looking to connect the opportunity in the market with the actual supply of it.
So getting the new users there is, again, that's the biggest growth channel that we have. If you look at it, when we do a penetration study, we understand that there are around 12 crore people in a total population of 140 crores who have the propensity to buy or sell a car. So, how do we tap, how do we reach to them is the biggest challenge that we face in growth today.
All right, so what if we, and I'm going to now think aloud with you and ideate a little bit with you. So what if we took those two components of your business? So one part is a documentation service.
Yeah.
And what if we could price that as a service and make that available on the network? So now it may be your customer, it may not be your customer, but somebody who has a car-related documentation to be met with, you now have a revenue earning service coming out of your business.
Yes, and that is a customer. Anybody who has a vehicle or is planning to buy a vehicle. So everybody is a customer for us. And the services can span, right? They can span right across from a car service to a challan service to an RTO service. So, everything is an opportunity that we can tap into.
Right. And in terms of outreach, the collective buyer applications on our network now we estimate have more than 100 million customers of various kinds. Right. And so would that present a sizable enough opportunity for you?
Yeah, so and that is exactly the reason why we've been in talks with ONDC to launch the auto category now for quite some time. So we see huge potentials there, we see huge opportunities there. And considering the reach that ONDC would allow us, I think that's the biggest possible opportunity that we can look at.
All right. And then when customer typically buys a pre-owned car, what are the services that such a customer is looking to add in addition
I think,
to it?
the first thing and where we see a lot of synergies are we have our own inventories which we can list, right? So on the buyer platform, of course, we have a straightforward case, and then there are also a small case of the service and spares. Service might come later in, but spares is a straightforward selling platform. So I think there we see a lot of synergies. So when a customer buys a car, they can buy anything as small in terms of an AOV as a god idol to a car perfume to the bigger accessories as well. So I think the opportunities are huge, and that market itself in terms of GMVs are something that every OEM also in this country wants to tap into.
Right. And so one opportunity then can also be for availability of suppliers of those on the network. So
Yes.
all you have to do is just simply enable that purchase.
Yeah, and we would also like to tap into that segment, considering we also want to launch our white label brand in terms of spares. So yes, it is about suppliers there, and we want to also be there as a supplier. So for us, it works both on the supply and the buy side.
All right. Excellent. Thank you as well. So just a microcosm of how when you examine any business and you can identify components of that business, each individual component now has potential to be an independent business case on the network. Atul, let me come back to you now. There is also one more mic in case you need it. Yeah. So Atul, explain to us now what are your growth plans and what are you seeing as building blocks for your expansion?
Sure. So we have expanded really fast, right? So right now we are into 45 plus test preps, ranging from JEE, NEET to UPSC, GATE, CLAT, MBA, and everywhere, right? So we started with JEE, NEET, right? And every test prep has its own cohort in the country, right? There's always a geography which is concentrated for one test prep. The geographical expansion is something which we are, finding one growth lever which we can explore with ONDC. That is one. That is geographical expansion, riding on the distribution network is one. Second, I would say is, a student in his life has a lot of different, product requirements. So we are a test prep company. We are educators, and the other accessories which a student require, we would rather like somebody else to take that accountability and not focus on those products, right? So we do have a, say, PW store, an e-commerce platform, right? But if we get into a network wherein all these accessories are readily available, right? So our students would benefit from that. Third, the interesting parameter for us is that our consumer, who is the student, and the buyer, who is the parent, they are different, right? So our app is consumed by the student, and the kind of, the target segment we are dealing with, it's a household in a very remote area where in the entire household, there is one mobile phone, which is with the head of the family. And that head of the family might not be, consuming PW as an app, right? So if we are able to, spread awareness through other buyer app, which the parent is already consuming, then that also gives us a big growth lever. So I think on these three fronts, we are trying to, deal with the challenges, and ONDC, I believe, is one of the very good, answer to all these challenges which we have.
Sure, that part is true, but you also mentioned accountability. What sort of accountability is involved here, and who is answerable for that accountability?
So see, my point is that every company has its core competency, right? So if I am a logistic company, I have core competency of delivery. I would rather not move away from my core competency and start focusing on something else, right? For education, my core competency is providing quality education to the students, to batches, right? But the students' needs are very different as well, right? They need the notebooks. If they are the foundation students or pre-foundation students who is studying in any school or colleges, they have their dresses as well, right? So we used to buy dresses at our own brick and mortar shops. So if all the needs of the students are catered to at one platform, that is a very good value prop. But for PW to do the entire aggregation of all those products and deliver, that would be something which would be an added responsibility to us, where I would say it's not a core competency of a tech platform. So there I believe ONDC comes in, wherein we can showcase those products also on our app when we get integrated, right?
Okay. And for delivery of your programs, are there complementary service providers that you rely on?
No, so everything is
you're fully, completely?
Completely. So we believe that the robust YouTube distribution we built for awareness, that is something which is which has really done really well for us. We have very good subscriber base there, and we see when we say that we want to democratize education, we offer the entire course, be it physics, chemistry, maths, and in different segments as well. Everything is available on YouTube free of cost, the entire course, right? And there is paid batches over and above that. Right. So basis that trust which we have built, we have been able to create that distribution. What excites me a lot about ONDC is that for any small business today, if you see, so any educator who wants to say is really good at teaching, right? But they do not have that distribution. How do they reach to those students? ONDC comes.
The ability to source educators beyond your scale. So just to let the audience know that services, which includes individual skill-based services, that they can be home repair kind of services, they can be tutor kind of services, as a spec will be live soon. And so hopefully the network will be able to help you much more than just simply outreach efforts, but also be able to translate some of your challenges into faster growth streams.
That would be great, yeah.
Pawan, let me come back to you at the end. And I want you to tell me what have been now, as you look at the boundaries of what is and what is possible, what are some of the daring connections that you can now think? We heard from Shiprocket earlier in the previous panel, how they were a logistics company, now they can dare to be a seller application. We heard from MagicPin, who was a food aggregator, now is also TSP because they're enabling food ordering from other parties. So how are you seeing opportunities for business broadening for you through the network?
So, for any company or any entrepreneur to succeed, usually the way they work out is they play to their strength, right? For example, our strength has been to create a great central platform where you are able to match users, make them play games. We have never entered into the business of game development ourselves. We have always relied that on third-party game developers. I think what ONDC here has offered is essentially that your ability could be just to have a very highly engaged user base. And how can you monetize that user base in a much better manner is something that ONDC is providing in this case, right? I'll give you an example of gaming. Gamification is a very common word, right? Most of the popular e-commerce platforms actually use gamification, even food delivery applications, in the form of creating a leaderboard or actually creating games. The reason for that is gamification is something that drives engagement. You will not launch a shopping application every single day, but you will always launch a gaming application of your choice every single day. The frequency of use, the stickiness is far more when it comes to gaming. Here on our platform in Winzo, we have a very sticky user base who's launching our application, spending about 45 minutes every single day. We have about 25, 30 million monthly active users. They already have their wallets linked. They're doing those transactions. For us, and by the way, the segment we are talking about is the youth, right? Somewhere between 18, 19 years, all the way up to 35 years. These are the chief shopping officers of their households, right? They are the ones who are literally driving all that digital shopping that is happening in the families, especially so in tier 2, tier 5 cities. Now we have all these super engaged chief shopping officers, on our platform. What are the ways through which we can really leverage ONDC, right? And how that all this really opens up for us. Firstly, simply share of wallet, right? Today, they're predominantly spending money on playing games on our platform. But because they're launching our application every single day, spending so much time every single day, there's nothing stopping them for making all the other purchases, right? From maybe paying bills to, buying online shopping, ordering food, whatever the gamut of services that ONDC offers. There's no point, them actually dedicatedly launching a shopping app when they have access to all their shopping experience within an app that they're anyway launching. That is a very straightforward path. But now let me push the envelope a little more. Let me discuss possibilities a little more. Gaming, as we all know, is actually the future of social, right? We've all seen during COVID how, we all actually hung around with our friends on these games, like, Ludo King became really popular. Some of the other games became really popular where people were not just playing games, were also hanging out with their friends. That is the phenomena that we are experiencing, even for example in Winzo, right? Where especially during evening hours, people will be, this is the phenomena that we are experiencing even within Winzo, where people actually hang around for 1 hour, 2 hours. They have friends, they talk, they play games together. There are now games that we are integrating, which are actually like virtual worlds, There's of course in the US, there's a popular product called Roblox, but in India also now we are working on integrating these virtual worlds where people are literally hanging around with each other, playing mini games, talking to each other on video. There are influencers who are streaming, and there are like folks who are just watching those streams. All of this happening, every single day for hours. Now, if we have at a click of a button integrated commerce facilitated by ONDC, all these folks who are hanging out with each other, me hanging out with my friends, we can actually go ahead and just browse through the shopping carousel and maybe figure out, okay, how about we buy this t-shirt? How about we buy these shoes? An influencer who's streaming, suddenly saying, okay, if you want this headphones, you want my shoes, you want this cool hoodie, why don't you just at a click of a button buy it from here itself? Suddenly, all these virtual experiences where friends are not actually going and visiting a shopping mall, but are hanging around on a gaming application and live shopping simultaneously. I think that is the future of commerce anyway, and ONDC really helps us do that, right? A large e-commerce platform is not going to create these virtual shopping experiences. It is gaming applications like Winzo who will be creating those virtual experiences, but creating and getting into the ops of setting up a shopping channel is not something which is our strength, right? But with the help of ONDC, now we'll be able to marry the two. So people are hanging out with each other and now shopping, alongside. I mean, gifting is something which is so popular, right? I mean, people actually, do so much tips. They do gifting. They send different emojis. They give, nice hats and, whatnot. Why not? Why can't we gift a pizza to somebody, right, whom we meet online? Why can't we gift somebody a bouquet of flowers? All of that at a click of a button. I think the enablement and meeting of online and offline with the help of ONDC is something that we see as a future, and we are quite excited to explore those options.
Thank you, Pawan. So we heard from all the panelists, and I think it will be an exciting future where a startup benefiting from a program initiated by DPIIT happens to be in a moving car provided by Cars 24, accessing education and gaming and finding combinations thereafter. The opportunities for businesses are new revenue streams, as we heard. It's finding input services, it's finding infrastructure support, it's finding resources, it's finding a new market. Infinite possibilities, but we will not take infinite time. So I want to thank all our panelists for having been here and shared some of their insights. And I hope to have an exciting conversation like this with each of you startups who's present today. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the panelists for having an enlightening conversation about how ONDC can help all the businesses grow. Can you please step ahead for the group photo? Thank you to all the panelists. You can please join the audience. The next part of this event is signing of the letter of intents with unicorns and sonicorns with ONDC. For this, I want to invite on the stage Sanjeev Sir, Joint Secretary, DPIIT, Shri T. Koshi, Managing Director, ONDC, Dr. Bijoy John, Director, DPIIT, and Sumit Charangal Sir, Director, DPIIT. To please step on the stage, please. In the meantime, I would just like to highlight that these letters strengthen the consistent effort and commitment of the government to democratize digital commerce and empower all the stakeholders in the ecosystem. And we thank all of you here who have signed the letter of intents along with ONDC. We would like to invite all the unicorns. I would just say your name and you can step on the stage and sign the letter. Please give us 2 minutes. To invite Mr. Rikant Pitti, Ease My Trip, to please sign the LOI. And everyone, please a round of applause. That's it. You just close it. And a photo, please. A photograph, everyone, please. Thank you so much, Mr. Rikant. Thank you. I would now like to invite Mr. Atul Kumar from Physics Wala to please step on the stage for the LOI signing. Document Anubhav. A round of applause, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Atul. I would now like to invite Mr. Pawan from Windsor to please step on the stage for the LOI signing. The co-founder, Ms. Soumya, if you're somewhere here, you can also join in, please. Oh, sorry, sir. A round of applause. Thank you so much, Soumya and Pavan. I would now like to request Mr. Ujjwal Sinha from CAST 24 to please step on the stage for the LOI signing. Would request everyone for a photograph, please. Thank you so much, Mr. Ujjwal. Now I would request Mr. Rajiv Gupta from PB Fintech to please step on the stage. Would request everyone for a group photograph. Thank you so much, sir. Now we would like to request Mr. Abhishek Kasina from Life Space to please step on the stage.
Thank you, sir, for signing the LOI. Now I'd like to call Abhishek Kasina, Rahul Chaudhary from Global Bees. Please step on the stage. Thank you so much, sir, for signing the LOI. Now, next, I would like to call from Pristine Care, Mr. Om. Please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Om. With this, we conclude this ceremony, and I'm really happy to tell you that we have more than 12 unicorns and a total of 150 letter of intents which have been signed over the past 1 week for this particular event. Thank you so much to all the dignitaries on the stage. And I would request everyone who's here who has not signed the letter of intent and all 5,000 people who are watching us online to join us in this journey of making ONDC stronger and making your own company stronger by signing this letter of intent. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Can I request group photograph? One group photograph, please. With all the unicorns and sunicorns who have signed the LOI, can you please step on the stage? Mr. Rikant Pitti, Mr. Atul Kumar. Mr. Pavan, Soumya, Ujjwal, Rajiv, Abhishek, Rahul. Soumya, you're the only woman. We hope to have this representation increased. Thank you to all the dignitaries. We will start the next session in the next 2 minutes. I would request everyone to settle down. The last leg of this workshop is a masterclass on ONDC to understand more about what ONDC is and how you can be onboarded. Requesting everybody to please settle down. I would like to request Mr. Shirish Joshi from ONDC to please step on the stage for the masterclass.
Hello. All right, I'll just use this. So I'll just briefly talk about ONDC, and the story is actually fairly simple. It's the idea of open networks, it's the magic of DPI, it's what ONDC can bring, and then how startups importantly can contribute. Open networks and closed networks have a very simple property that distinguishes them. Right? Besides the fact that, of course, one is open and one is closed, an open network grows. And as the network grows, it makes available that scale to everyone. And we are familiar with some open networks. Right? The internet itself is an open network. And so just think about it. If you've built your website 30 years ago, right, only a handful of people around the world at that time could see your website. But for doing nothing else, as the universe of internet grows, the number of viewers who can come to your website also grows. So as the network grows, that scale is available to you automatically. We see that same thing in telephones also. Telephone is also an open network. Right? And so if you had a number 30 years ago, only a few lakh people could call you. But today, several hundred million people can call you. Again, the benefit of an open network goes to everyone. So the idea of open network is that scale should be available to everyone, and it should not require special effort from any one individual party to get to that scale. It's the collective effort of everyone that comes back to benefit everyone else. A quick snapshot of what that has done for India. Back in 2008, 16 years ago, India was a very undigital country. Less than 4% internet penetration, 18% banking penetration, very few people paying income tax. There was no common ID, cost of KYC was high, and connectivity in general was very, very little. And today, when we fast forward, India is a completely different country. Right? More than 1 billion mobile connections, nearly 1.4 billion Aadhaar enrollments, 1.1 billion account aggregator accounts, 800 million internet users, 11 billion monthly digital payments. Nearly half of world's digital payments are now taking place in India. 81% adult with bank accounts and 10 million GST registered businesses. So we are a very digital, very networked country in the short span that we have seen in the last 15 years. And these have all been sequential benefits. They've all built upon each other. So having an identity created the ability to create bank accounts. Having bank accounts created the ability to have UPI. And so these infrastructure are now building upon each other and enabling availability of services at scale for everyone. That's resulted in dramatic transformations. So by most popular estimates, if we had allowed banking to grow as per growth of our GDP, it would have taken 47 years to achieve what we were able to do in just 9 years on the back of Aadhaar-linked bank accounts. So India is the only country in the world that is now looking to build population-scale APIs and open networks to really digitally transform society. No aspect of the society is going to be left untouched by this digital transformation. And so as we look at the history and we now look at what are the next frontiers of transformation, credit, commerce, and logistics are some of the frontiers that need this transformation. And in some ways, the story of ONDC is the story of all these three subjects coming together. To understand ONDC, and for those who have not had a formal briefing, I say this to everyone, which is to embrace the new, we have to unlearn. Because we have understood commerce to take place in a certain fashion because of the way commerce has been executed. All commerce in the world has been executed as a platform. What that means is that both the parties in transaction, the buyer and the seller, both have to be part of the same platform, otherwise there is no transaction. So on one taxi application, you cannot book a taxi of the other application. On one food ordering platform, you can't order from a restaurant or the other platform. Each of them is a distinct world by itself. And so one of those things now is going to change, which is these will not be distinct worlds. They will be all a single universe, a single network. To understand a network, we first need to understand protocol. And I will not get into a scientific definition. Let me use a very commonly known example of protocol. Those of you who have played with Lego will understand this example. Lego has a very simple protocol. One piece must have a cylindrical protrusion, and the other piece must be able to accept that protrusion. As long as two pieces follow this protocol, the two pieces can be combined and we can create something. That's the Lego protocol. Now, once you have a protocol, then you can make several pieces. Right? Different colors, different sizes, different shapes. Once you have different pieces, then you have some MVPs, some minimal viable products. You can build stuff out of it. But once the protocol exists, it is not just simple structures. You can actually build very complex structures. It does not require any other special knowledge. The same protocol, the same set of pieces can now come together to build something eminently more complex. And let's take a look at one more example of what just somebody's imagination can build with protocol. Can I request the console to just play this video, please? Play the video, please. All right, we'll skip it. But the examples that you saw earlier give you a sense that there does not need to be a predetermined product. Right? Once you have components and once you have protocol, you can combine the components and the protocol in any fashion to create anything that your imagination can drive. Now, physical infrastructure is familiar. Right? We are all familiar with, for example, highways. Now, who can drive on the highways? A truck can, a bus can, private car can, taxi can, motorcycle, auto rickshaw, tempo, anybody can. The whole idea of infrastructure, it is equally available to everyone. There is no special access required. There is no special restriction or a barrier. Anybody can use our roads to get from one place to another. That's a physical infrastructure. The idea about ONDC is to create a similar digital infrastructure where any commercial entity, whether a buying entity or a selling entity or a supporting entity, should be able to participate without any special requirement, without any special barrier. Which is a sharp contrast to how e-commerce is today. E-commerce today operates almost like a VIP club. Today, less than 1% of sellers are present in e-commerce. And by sellers, I mean the broad sense of the word. Manufacturers, retailers, artisans, farmers, they're all sellers of some kind. And so less than 1% today are digitized. In terms of commerce participation, less than 6% of India's commerce is digital. And in fact, in B2B, it's even smaller. So e-commerce, although people like you and me might engage with it very frequently, it operates almost like a VIP club. And we want to change that to a much more inclusive infrastructure. How does it work? Well, any e-commerce, if you break it down, has three very simple kind of groups of activities. A buyer searches for a product, builds a cart, makes payment. These are buyer-facing activities. You have seller-facing activities, catalog management, order fulfillment, returns, etc. And where it is a physical product, there is a delivery service from the buyer's location, or from the shipper's location to the buyer's location. All of this today sits inside one platform, which is why buyers and sellers have to be in that platform today. But what changes with ONDC is now these activities can be done by different parties. So somebody can do purely a buying activity. Somebody can purely do a selling activity. Somebody can do pure delivery activity. And they will be connected with the open protocol that is ONDC. So you are able to get commerce solutions, not by requiring one party to build everything, but requiring everybody to simply do what they are good at and for the protocol to connect the right combination and create it at will. What this results is in a network where regardless of which application a buyer is on or a seller is on or a logistics provider is on, everyone is connected to everyone. So a buyer on any application can place an order on a seller on any other application, and either of them can order a delivery from any other application that has delivery services. And this is what creates its power. So any company or any group that has a user base can become a buying service on the network. Today we have payment companies which are a buying application. We have a media company which is a buying application. We have banks which will soon become a buying application. We have telecom companies becoming buying application. So to become part of e-commerce, you don't have to be an e-commerce company. If you have a user base for anything, you can become a buying application. Similarly for sellers, if you engage with sellers for any purpose, so a company, let's say, that builds accounting software can make that accounting software ONDC compatible. That shop becomes visible to the network. So a buyer, let's say on a telecom application, can buy from a seller who's on an accounting software application. That's really simply how it works. And same with logistics providers. So you get a single network where buyers are present, sellers are present, delivery services are present, everyone is present, everyone is connected to each other, and you get a complete commerce solution without requiring any one party to put it all together. So we have several thousand companies who have expressed interest, and they're in various stages. We have nearly 100 participants who are live, and another 200 who are in very advanced stages. So we estimate we have more than 100 million buyer base. In fact, some estimates put it at even 200 million. We have 4.5 lakh sellers and providers on the network, and 16 delivery companies that can deliver to any of the 19,000 pin codes. So already it is fairly robust, and we expect it to get stronger and bigger with time. Any domain that can be cataloged can be transacted on ONDC. Importantly, now you can create combinations that are very difficult to create otherwise. So imagine, let's say, a person who's relocating with his job to another city. For that person to be able to buy a suitcase, buy a flight ticket, book a place of stay, maybe other services. Today, they'll have to go to 4 different applications, 4 different platforms to be able to do that. It'll become as easy as simply adding all of them to cart. So you can add a suitcase to cart, a flight ticket to cart, a place of stay to cart, additional services to cart, checkout, and you'll be able to do this. So this is what becomes possible when everything is on a single network rather than housed inside individual applications. So benefits, and I will focus more on the middle and the last column here much more. So for those amongst you who are creating a product or a service, immense number of benefits for sellers. One is through a single registration, you are discoverable by an entire universe. Right? Every single buyer on the network can now potentially buy your product or your service, and you only have to have a single presence. In e-commerce today, a seller has to go and register in multiple applications, and only then they can have a comfort that all buyers can possibly see me. On a network, you only have to do it once, right? You only need one Wi-Fi connection for your laptop to see all websites. You don't need multiple connections to be able to see multiple websites. Or you put one SIM card in your phone, and any phone number anywhere in the world can call you. You don't have to individually register your phone on every telecom network in the world. You don't need to do that because it's an open network. So similarly, on an open network, one registration as a seller, and all buyers can buy from you. Importantly, all the other services that come to you, they come at cost of scale or benefit of scale costs. Now, one example of this is the postal services. You don't have to pay postal services based on your individual contract. Each of us does not say, okay, I do only 100 letters a month, I have a certain rate. Somebody else does 1,000 letters a month, they have a different rate. That's not true. There is an entire postal infrastructure that is built for everybody's scale put together. The cost of operation of that scale is now made available to everyone. So even if you send one letter or you send 10,000, even the person sending one letter is able to do it very cheaply and affordably because the scale benefits are being passed on to everyone. So on a network, you will see more and more such services. So you don't have to now base individual contracts on the scale of business that you have. You can now benefit from the scale of the network and access additional services that will lower your cost. You can also choose how you do business. You can decide what geography you want to operate in. You can decide what conditions you want to operate with. Do you want money before you ship? Are you okay to wait 3 days after shipping? You want to pay 20% commission, 10% commission, only 2% commission? Do you accept returns? Do you not accept returns? These are all commercial terms. So rather than be forced into following some platform's terms and conditions, you can now choose the terms and conditions that are right for you. So it's possible for every business, and this is particularly important for startups who have limited resources, to be able to operate business in the way they would like it, rather than being forced to follow some scale terms that may actually be detrimental for them. In addition, the network makes multiple other features available for sellers. One is analytics. You know who your customer is. You can have access to a certain amount of data for yourself. And so be able to have intelligence that will help guide your strategy rather than be completely blind. Second, reputation is something that is your effort. It is your asset. But today in e-commerce, that reputation is not available to you. It is locked inside that e-commerce platform. When you register in a new e-commerce platform, you start from zero. So your effort is not available to you in e-commerce platforms. On a network, it is available to you always. Your reputation will be part of your identity. And no matter how you are connected with the network, your reputation is visible to everybody who wants to interact with you. And finally, no disintermediation risk, right? Because there is no one party that has all the business processes, no one party has all the data, and therefore the risk of somebody being able to replace you or replace many people like you is almost nil. Right? So lots of advantages for a seller of any kind, whether a product or a service seller. Let's talk about technology companies. Many of you might be technology companies building a product that is not an entire product, but a component of a product. Or you might be building a certain capability that will help enhance an experience. So let's walk through a hypothetical example. Let's say you're an image processing company, and you're able to process images and make sense out of them. So you can build a very simple catalog tool. You can have a handcart vendor, a thela wala, to be able to take a picture of their thela and be able to scan, let's say it's a fruit vendor, to be able to scan that image and convert it to orange, apple, mango, banana, whatever fruits the person is selling. All he or she has to do is enter rupees per kilo, rupees per dozen, and the catalog is ready. And maybe the catalog is ready in not one languages, but 25 Indian languages. So suddenly by doing what you do, which is image processing, you've enabled a catalog creation for e-commerce at scale. And this is just one illustration of how you do not have to now build an entire e-commerce solution. Even if you build a component, you have an opportunity to scale your business on the basis of that component on an open network. So what can startups do? Just a few illustrations and illustrative examples. One is you can lower your entry barrier. Right? So now you don't have to put together all the components of a business to get started. Work with what you've already created, find the complementary activities on the network, and you can get started much faster and much more easily. Creating disruptive innovation is a lot easier, because you can now simply connect parts that somebody has not connected before. We heard in the last two panels some conversations around how that can take place. So far easier to create disruptive innovations. Scaling quickly, and I just shared one example of doing that. And participating across the value chain. So you can decide where in that value chain you want to participate, plug in there, and be able to succeed. For you to be able to do that, now you do not have to try and complete all the other parts where you're not a specialist. Focus on your specialization, focus on your strength, and create the differentiation based on that. Focus all your energies on making that good and strong and better, and you'll have an opportunity to succeed. Innovate to your strengths. You have an opportunity to grow beyond traditional e-commerce, because now you can create combinations that are not possible in traditional e-commerce. And again, I gave an example of a multi-product case where you're able to combine things that don't exist in any single e-commerce platform, and you can create a solution there. And you can uncover new revenue opportunities. And again, we saw some examples earlier in the panels today, and there are many more examples on the network of companies discovering new revenue streams that would have been either difficult or impossible for them to do without a network benefit. What roles can you play? You can be a buyer application, you can be a seller application, you can be a technology service provider, you can provide gateway or infrastructural services. So there are a variety of services available. And we're also supporting that by running programs. One program that is now nearing completion is Build for Bharat. This was a program that we launched in collaboration with Google Cloud, Antler, Paytm, and Protean, and with Startup India. And we crowdsourced a bunch of problem statements, and we made them available to all kinds of people, to startups, to freelancers, to professionals, and even students. And we have had more than 10,000 applications and registrations, a few thousand final submissions, and now we are in the final stages of identifying the lead solutions and taking them to final awarding. Right? And these were a variety of solutions. So some were about new business ideas, some were about helping the network scale up quickly, some of them were about inherent challenges that a network faces and creating tools and resources that will make the experience on the network stronger. So 17 different problem statements, several thousand startups, and now an opportunity for many of them to both be part of something great and get funding. So if I were to put the idea of ONDC in a nutshell, it is no matter what kind of maker you are, no matter what kind of creator you are, हर business के लिए अब भारत खुलेगा. It's not playing? I seem to have some trouble with video. All right, we'll skip that. Hopefully you'll have a chance to see it. It's on YouTube, and we'll share it also subsequently. So that's really it. I hope this was useful as an introduction to what ONDC is and what ONDC can be. There are numerous examples of innovation already taking place, and these are really early days of the internet. Innovation takes place not by one party, it takes place as an ecosystem. One history that all of us have seen is a good illustration. Think back to when cameras first came on mobile phones, nearly 25, 30 years ago. They were a very basic camera. Right? And in fact, people said, why would anybody use this camera? Digital cameras are so good. Now, fast forward 25 years, and what has happened? Well, cameras have gone from pixels to megapixels. They've gone from behind the phone to front of phone. Mobile phones have got internet, now all the way to 5G, you can do video conferencing. When the first phone came with a camera, nobody thought of video conferencing. It was, in fact, video conferencing itself was not a prevalent practice. So these things evolve, and they evolve beyond the imagination you can have at a point in time. So the only thing we know for sure, looking at history, is that eventually it will look like nothing what we can see today. Eventually, everyone will participate and make it big. There will be no one party. And eventually, it will be everywhere. And I hope to see the results of your innovation and your effort also everywhere pretty soon on the network. Thank you.
Bharat.
Looks like the video is working.
Bharat खुलेगा.
अबे राजू, ये मूंग दाल, हल्दी, मिर्ची पैक हुआ क्या? आगे हो गया। अब तो पूरे शहर में डिलीवरी कर रहे हो।
ONDC के साथ छोटे से मोहल्ले में शहर का सबसे बड़ा सुपर स्टोर खुलेगा।
So with this, we have.
सड़क किनारे बनते दियों के लिए बड़े-बड़े बंगलों का दरवाजा खुलेगा।
ये भी बहुत अच्छा। खुलेगा।
ये मैं और ये मेरे पापा। मेरे पापा ना बचपन में मेरे लिए कल्लू की बताशे लाते थे।
तो फिर आप मेरे लिए भी लेके आओ।
अभी मंगवाता हूँ।
मिठाई की दुकानों के साथ-साथ बचपन की यादों का झरोखा खुलेगा। अलीगढ़ का ताला पंजिम, पटियाला, चेन्नई के हाथों से खुलेगा।
कुल्फी खाने का मन कर रहा।
इस टाइम
चलिए साथ में करते हैं।
चाहे मंगवानी हो काम की चीज या कुछ भी चटर पटर, काका काकी के लिए किसी भी टाइम हर दुकान, हर शटर आसानी से खुलेगा। इस ओपन नेटवर्क के साथ मिस सपना के सपने खुलेंगे, मिसेस श्रीनिवासन की सोच खुलेगी, मिस्टर एंड मिसेस कपूर का आने वाला कल खुलेगा, मांझी शाह के अचार की तारीफ में पूरे देश का मुंह खुलेगा। मिश्रा जी की टैक्सी का दरवाजा सनी, बनी, हनी, टोनी के साथ साथ टूरिस्ट्स, हनीमूनर्स, सीईओज सब के लिए खुलेगा। खुशियां खुलेंगी, तरक्की खुलेगी, आशाएं खुलेंगी, ख्वाहिशें खुलेंगी, आसानी खुलेगी। जब ONDC नेटवर्क पर हर तरह के बिजनेस के लिए भारत खुलेगा तो करोड़ों कस्टमर्स और दुकानदारों के लिए बेचने और खरीदने का नया तरीका खुलेगा। ONDC नेटवर्क पर अब हर बिजनेस के लिए भारत खुलेगा।
With that, we have come to the end of a first of its kind event. Now, we would like to extend also our sincere gratitude to all the speakers who have contributed to help make this event a success, and to all the attendees for their active participation. Now, I want to request you all to proceed for the lunch being organized in the adjacent lunch area. Thank you.